When was the last time you truly looked at yourself, not just your reflection in the mirror, but the person behind the eyes, and asked, am I living my truth, or just playing a role that was handed to me? We live in a world that teaches us to serve every voice but our own. From the moment we open our eyes each morning, the world starts whispering, be this, do that, want this, chase that. And without even realizing it, we begin to drift away from the quiet pulse of our own soul. Carl Jung once said that the greatest tragedy of the human spirit is not death, but the unlived life, the version of ourselves we never had the courage to become. Yet deep inside, there's a faint signal, a feeling that something about the life we've built doesn't quite fit. It's that subtle ache you feel when the room is full, but your heart feels distant. It's that quiet question that echoes in the silence before sleep. Who am I really living for? Choosing yourself sounds simple, but it's the most radical act of all. It means tearing away every layer of expectation, every borrowed dream, every should that's been stitched into your identity. It means facing the fear of being misunderstood and doing it anyway. But here's the paradox. When you finally dare to listen to that hidden voice within, the world you thought you knew begins to change. People leave, paths close, and yet something miraculous begins to unfold beneath the surface, the slow awakening of the self you were always meant to be. Most people never reach this point. They silence that voice, numb it, drown it with noise. But there comes a moment, often quiet, often unexpected, when the soul refuses to be ignored any longer. And when that moment arrives, your entire life begins to whisper a single question back to you. What if everything you've lost while trying to please others was never meant to be yours at all? Have you ever felt something tugging at you from beneath the surface of your everyday life? An invisible thread, subtle but persistent, as if the universe itself were trying to speak in a language you half remember but never fully learned. Maybe it begins quietly. A dream that repeats itself night after night, its images too vivid to be dismissed as random. A hallway that feels colder than the rest of the house, though the air is still. A sudden wave of emotion that appears without reason. Sadness, déjà vu, or an inexplicable peace that floods your heart for no apparent cause. You tell yourself it's just stress, exhaustion, coincidence, but deep down, something in you knows it's not. You go through your days performing the same rituals, answering messages, nodding at conversations that no longer touch you, laughing at things that don't amuse your soul. Yet, there's an undercurrent, a restlessness that no amount of noise or distraction can silence. It shows up in the pauses between tasks, in the stillness before sleep. You can't name it, but you feel it, like the faint pulse of another world beating just beneath this one. Some people call it intuition, others divine timing. Jung called it the voice of the unconscious, the sacred space where your soul and the greater mystery of existence intertwine. It doesn't speak in words, but in symbols, a certain number that follows you everywhere, a melody that plays in a stranger's car, echoing a forgotten memory, a person you barely know who says exactly what you needed to hear at the precise moment you were about to give up. You notice it most when your heart is tired, when life feels like a series of obligations instead of a journey of meaning. That's when the signs grow louder. You wake up at night for no reason, but somehow you feel summoned. You dream of people you haven't seen in years, and in the morning, they call you out of the blue. You feel drained around certain environments, as if your body is trying to pull you away from what your mind insists is normal. These moments are not random, they are messages. The body whispers what the soul can no longer keep silent. The mind resists, but the spirit insists. A pressure behind the chest, an inexplicable lump in the throat, that sudden dizziness when you're around the wrong person. All of it is communication, not malfunction. The universe doesn't always speak in miracles. Sometimes it murmurs through discomfort. Yet we've been trained to ignore it, to rationalize every flicker of intuition, every chill that runs down our spine. We scroll past the feeling. We drown it in busyness, caffeine, routine. Because to pause and listen would mean confronting something terrifying, the possibility that we've built our lives far away from where our soul wanted to go. Have you ever felt that conflict? The life that looks perfectly fine from the outside, but feels strangely hollow inside? You smile for photos, hit your goals, play your role, and still, something feels missing. That's the whisper. That's your deeper self trying to awaken. Carl Jung believed that this unease, this quiet pain, is not a sign of failure, but a sacred invitation. A message that the unconscious sends when it's time to return home to yourself. The outer world begins to crack when the inner world is begging to be seen. And when that call becomes too strong to ignore, life has a way of forcing you to stop. Sometimes through a loss, a sudden ending, a health scare, or the collapse of something you thought was permanent. It's not punishment, it's redirection. The collapse is often the soul's way of creating space for what was always meant to emerge. But here's the secret few ever dare to admit. Before every awakening, there is always a breaking. Before clarity, confusion. Before alignment, the chaos that shakes you awake. And so, the real question is not whether the universe is speaking to you. It is, are you ready to listen to what it's been trying to say all along? There's a truth few ever speak of, a secret whispered through centuries of forgotten wisdom, hidden not in ancient temples or sacred scrolls, but within you. The first great sign of spiritual awakening is discomfort, that growing sense that something in your life no longer fits, even if you can't explain why. Most people see this unease as a curse, but Jung and countless mystics before him saw it as the first calling of the soul, the moment the unconscious begins to surface, asking to be heard. When your outer world begins to clash with your inner truth, the result is not chaos, it's revelation. The tension between who you are and who you pretend to be creates the friction that lights the fire of transformation. This discomfort is the first language of the divine. Think of it this way. Your soul has always known the path it came here to walk. But as you grow, you take on masks, identities shaped by society, family, fear. You wear them to survive, to belong, to be loved. Yet deep down, something in you remembers. That faint pulse in your chest when you're alone, that ache when you compromise what you truly feel. That is your real self trying to reach the surface again. Jung called this process individuation, the sacred journey of becoming who you truly are. But every journey begins with a rupture. When you start to awaken, the old reality resists. You begin to question things you once accepted blindly. Your body reacts differently to places, people, or habits that no longer align with your energy. Even your dreams shift. They become messages, symbolic maps from the unconscious guiding you home. In many ancient traditions, this stage was known as the dark night of the soul. Not because it is evil, but because you are learning to see without the false lights that once guided you. You start to notice patterns, relationships that repeat the same pain, jobs that drain your spirit, decisions that feel forced. These patterns are not accidents, they are mirrors. They reveal the places where you abandoned yourself. And when that realization strikes, it hurts. You might feel lost, even betrayed by life. But this pain is sacred. It's the cracking of the old shell that confined you. The universe breaks what no longer serves you so that what's real can finally breathe. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In other words, what you mistake as bad luck, rejection, or chaos is often your soul trying to correct your course. Life rearranges itself around your hidden truth. Every closed door, every ending that shattered you was not punishment, it was an initiation. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a vast forest at dusk. Behind you is the familiar, the noise, the expectations, the well-lit path of other people's dreams. Ahead is shadow and silence. Most turn back, but those who step forward discover something extraordinary. The darkness is not empty. It's alive, with guidance, memory, and meaning. That's what discomfort is. It's the forest calling you inward. The moment you stop running from it, it transforms. What once felt like pain becomes instruction. What once looked like endings becomes birth. You start to see how the world has always been speaking to you through symbols, the arguments that expose your truth, the losses that strip away your illusions, the coincidences that defy reason. And slowly, clarity dawns. Nothing is random. Every moment of tension, every unanswered prayer, every heartbreak was part of your alignment. This is the first secret Jung hinted at, but rarely said outright. Your suffering is not against you, it's for you. It's the sacred architect shaping the temple of your true self. The question then is not, how can I avoid pain, but what is this pain trying to teach me? When you start asking that, you begin decoding the hidden language of your own soul. Think about the times you've been broken open. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe life forced you to start over. Remember that strange moment, right after the collapse, when, despite the grief, something inside you felt oddly clear, as if part of you already knew this had to happen. That clarity is the voice of your unconscious emerging through the noise. The more you trust it, the more fluent you become in the language of synchronicity. You start seeing signs not as accidents, but as instructions. You meet people who reflect exactly what you need to see, hear words that answer the questions you never spoke aloud, and experience coincidences that weave your inner and outer worlds together. Ancient mystics understood this long before modern psychology. They believed that the soul communicates through symbols, and life itself is the mirror where those symbols take form. Jung called this bridge between the inner and outer world synchronicity, meaningful coincidence. It is proof that the invisible world is responding to your inner state. But here's where the revelation deepens. When you resist these signs, life grows louder. When you ignore the whispers, they become storms. When you silence your intuition, it manifests through the body. Fatigue, anxiety, illness, these are not punishments. They are messages that the mind has refused to translate. If you find yourself in a season of confusion, of endings, of unrest, it's not the end of your story. It's the moment you are being rewritten. Your soul is asking you to stop negotiating with your truth, to stop dimming your light to fit into smaller versions of yourself. Because the real secret, the one hidden beneath centuries of silence, is that awakening isn't about escaping your humanity. It's about reclaiming it. The divine isn't above you, it's within you. And the discomfort you feel right now, that's the evidence. It means your soul has started to remember who it is. If these words resonate with something deep inside you, it's because you already know this truth. You felt it all along. And if you've made it this far, take a moment, breathe, and know that you are part of a rare circle of souls who refuse to live asleep. If this message has awakened something in you, don't let it fade. Like this video, so it reaches others who are awakening too. Subscribe and join this community, a circle of seekers walking the same invisible path back to themselves. Because the signs are already around you, the only question left is, will you recognize the next one when it appears? There was a time in my life when I thought I had everything figured out. The job that paid well, the house that looked like success, the friends who said all the right things. From the outside, it was perfect, orderly, stable, admirable. But inside, I was quietly breaking. I used to wake up every morning with that same hollow feeling in my chest, the kind that made the silence unbearable. I'd stare at my reflection, put on a smile, and convince myself that this was what life was supposed to look like. Yet, no matter how much I tried to fill the emptiness with achievements, relationships, distractions, something inside me kept whispering, "This isn't it. You're not where you're meant to be." It wasn't a loud voice. It was subtle, like the faint hum of a distant melody you can't quite locate, but once you start hearing it, you can't unhear it. At first, I ignored it. I told myself I was just tired, that everyone feels this way sometimes. But the signs began to multiply. I'd dream of standing in a vast desert, shouting for help, but no sound came out. I'd wake up with tears on my face, not knowing why. My body began to rebel. Tight chest, trembling hands, exhaustion that no amount of rest could fix. Doctors called it anxiety. I knew it was something deeper. And then it happened, the moment that would change everything. It was a rainy evening in November. I was driving home from work, lost in thought, when I saw a man on the side of the road, his car broken down. Normally I would have passed by. I was late, exhausted, my mind full. But something in me said, "Stop." I didn't even think. I just pulled over. The man looked up as I approached, his face pale and tired, drenched from the rain. I helped him push his car to the side, called a tow, waited with him until help came. We barely spoke, but at one point he turned to me and said, "Funny, isn't it? How sometimes we break down exactly where we need to." Then he smiled, an oddly peaceful smile, and thanked me. Those words hit me like a lightning strike. We break down exactly where we need to. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his voice. I realized that for months, maybe years, I'd been breaking down in my own way. Not on a highway, but in my spirit. My breakdown wasn't a failure, it was a message. Carl Jung wrote that the soul often speaks through symptoms when the mind refuses to listen. And in that moment, I finally understood. The exhaustion, the restlessness, the dreams, they weren't my enemies, they were signals. My unconscious had been trying to save me from a life that wasn't mine, so I did something terrifying. I stopped pretending. I took a leave from work. I ended a relationship that had long since gone cold. I distanced myself from the noise that had filled every quiet space in my life. At first, it felt like falling apart. But in that emptiness, something miraculous began to happen. The dreams returned, but this time, they felt different, no longer frightening. In one of them, I stood on the same desert, but instead of silence, I heard the wind carrying words, "Now you can begin." I woke up with tears again, but they weren't from sadness. They were from relief. The days that followed were strange and beautiful. I'd go for long walks without a destination. I'd notice things I had never seen before. The way sunlight filtered through the trees, the rhythm of my breath, the quiet pulse of the world around me. I began writing again, something I hadn't done since childhood, and through that process, I started hearing that inner voice more clearly. It no longer whispered, it guided. That's when I realized something profound. Your soul will dismantle everything that isn't aligned with your truth. It won't ask for permission. It will shake you, strip you, and bring you face to face with your shadow until you listen. It was painful, yes. There were days I felt lost, days I questioned everything. But in that darkness, I discovered a strange sense of peace, a peace that didn't depend on external success or approval. For the first time, I felt alive. Not perfect, not certain, but alive. And here's the truth I want you to take with you. Your breaking point is not your end. It's your initiation. The collapse you fear is often the doorway to your awakening. The pain you try to escape might be the teacher your soul has been waiting for. I share this because maybe, right now, you are in that same place, standing in the rain, feeling broken, confused, unsure why life seems to be unraveling. Maybe you've lost something, or someone. Maybe you wake up with that same ache in your chest that I once knew so well. If that's you, please understand this. Nothing is wrong with you. What's happening is not destruction, it's construction. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. And I promise you, when you look back, you'll see that every tear, every ending, every silent night was guiding you toward the person you were always meant to become. But that realization doesn't come from reading or hearing it. It comes from living it. It's in the small decisions you make each day to honor your truth, to walk away from what drains you, to say yes to what feels right, even if no one understands. Now, I'd like to know your story. Have you ever felt that life was trying to speak to you through a breakdown, a dream, or a moment of deep pain? Have you ever sensed that the universe was guiding you even through what looked like loss? Share it in the comments. I read them all, and I promise that in future videos I may bring your story into this circle, because your journey matters. Every sign, every struggle, every awakening connects us in ways we can't yet see. And maybe, just maybe, your story will be the light someone else needs to hear. Because every awakening begins with a single question echoing through the dark. What if this pain is not here to destroy me, but to reveal who I really am? There's a moment in every awakening when confusion begins to fade, and in its place, something astonishing emerges. Clarity through synchronicity. This is the second great secret of the spiritual path, one that Jung described as the mysterious intersection between your inner world and outer reality. If discomfort was the first sign, the whisper of your soul asking for attention, then synchronicity is the answer the universe gives when you finally begin to listen. It's the invisible bridge between thought and manifestation, between what you feel and what unfolds around you. You've probably experienced it before. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and that very day, they call. You're reading about a question that's been haunting your mind, and a random video, or perhaps this one, appears at the perfect moment. You see repeating patterns, phrases, or symbols that seem to follow you everywhere, each time carrying the same emotional echo. The logical mind dismisses these as coincidences, but Jung insisted they are messages, living mirrors that reflect the alignment between your conscious intention and your unconscious truth. When both begin to move together, reality starts to echo you. Here's the secret behind this. The universe doesn't speak in words, it speaks in symbols, and synchronicities are its language. Each one is a thread in a vast tapestry of meaning, woven just for you. When you're out of alignment, life feels random, disconnected, harsh. But the moment you begin to honor your truth, to say no when you mean no, to walk away from what depletes you, to follow what brings quiet joy, reality responds. You start noticing signs, an unexpected opportunity, a chance encounter, a sudden sense of being guided. That's not magic, that's resonance. Your frequency changes and life tunes itself to match you. Let's make this practical. There's a simple technique I call the 3 silences. It's not a ritual or a meditation in the traditional sense. It's a daily practice of listening beyond the noise. Here's how it works. The silence of the body. Sit quietly for 2 minutes and scan yourself from head to toe. Notice where tension lives, your chest, stomach, shoulders. Instead of trying to fix it, listen to it. Each tension is a word your body is speaking on behalf of your soul. Ask, what are you trying to tell me? Then breathe into that place and let it soften. The silence of the mind. For another few minutes, watch your thoughts without judging them. You'll notice patterns, recurring fears, worries, or memories. Instead of fighting them, trace them back to their source. Often behind every repetitive thought lies a truth you've been avoiding. Recognize it with compassion, the silence of the heart. Finally, place your hand on your chest and breathe deeply. Ask one question, only one. What do I truly need right now? Don't rush to answer. Wait. The response might come as an image, a memory, a tear, or a calm knowing. That's your unconscious speaking the language of truth. When you begin practicing this, something miraculous happens. You start to notice that life rearranges itself around your new awareness. You'll find yourself at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, saying the right words without planning it. That's synchronicity in motion. The more you acknowledge it, the stronger it becomes. Like any language, fluency comes with attention. When you see a pattern, whisper, "I see you." And when a coincidence feels too perfect to ignore, pause and ask, "What are you trying to show me?" That small act of awareness is how you begin to cooperate with the divine intelligence that shapes your life. But beware. Synchronicities are not about chasing signs everywhere. That's where most people lose themselves. The signs don't exist to predict your future. They exist to align you with your truth. You don't need to search for them. When you're ready, they find you. Here's what many don't realize. Synchronicity doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. When your soul and your choices are in harmony, the outer world simply mirrors that union. Jung compared this to the relationship between a seed and the soil. Once you plant the right intention, the universe conspires to make it bloom. But how do you know if a sign is truly meant for you? The answer is simple. It resonates. It doesn't shout. It hums quietly within your being. It feels like recognition, like remembering something you already knew but had forgotten. You'll feel it not in your mind, but in your body. A warmth in the chest, a sense of lightness, sometimes even tears. That's your confirmation. If you begin this practice tonight, even just 5 minutes of listening, you will start to notice changes. The right words will reach you. Old patterns will start to crumble. You'll see connections you never noticed before, and the random will begin to make sense. Every day, life sends you clues. Every emotion, every meeting, every delay is a page in your personal scripture. You were never disconnected from the divine. It's been speaking to you all along. You just needed to learn its language. And once you do, life stops being a series of problems to solve and becomes a dialogue with the infinite. So if this message has stirred something in you, take a deep breath and commit right now to listening differently. Let this be the moment you stop rushing through the noise and start recognizing the rhythm beneath it. Subscribe to this channel and be part of this growing community, a circle of souls learning to translate the signs of life into wisdom. You don't walk this path alone. Every awakened heart strengthens the whole. Because there is one more sign, the most profound of all, a secret that even Jung only hinted at. It's the moment when the universe stops sending you signs and starts becoming one with you. And when that happens, nothing in your life will ever look the same again. There is a moment on every seeker's path when the outer signs fade and silence takes their place. The dreams quiet down, the coincidences stop. Even the comforting sense of being guided seems to dissolve. Most people panic here. They believe they've lost their connection to the divine. But this stillness is the third and deepest sign of awakening. It's the moment when the universe no longer needs to speak to you because it has begun to speak through you. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But few ever realize what that means, that you are not separate from the divine mind that created you. The veil between you and God, between matter and spirit, between the seen and unseen, it was never real. It was a teaching device, a sacred illusion meant to help you remember. This is the climax of awakening, the moment when the mirror between self and source shatters. You realize that the voice you've been listening for was always your own soul, speaking the language of eternity. At first, this realization feels like standing on the edge of infinity. The self you once knew begins to dissolve. All the fears, the roles, the endless effort to control, suddenly meaningless. You feel weightless, almost transparent, as if the light of something ancient is now moving through you. The boundaries between inner and outer blur, and for a fleeting instant, everything breathes as one. You begin to see the divine geometry in everything, the way the branches of a tree mimic the veins in your hand, the way galaxies spiral just like the whirls of your fingerprints. There is no randomness, only reflection. Every atom, every heartbeat, every gust of wind is part of a vast conscious rhythm that has always known your name. This is not imagination, it is remembrance. You remember that consciousness doesn't live inside you. You live inside it. You remember that when you pray, it's not you reaching out to God, but God reaching back through you. You remember that love was never something you needed to earn. It was the substance you were made of all along. In this realization, something extraordinary happens. The world doesn't change, but the way you see it does. What once appeared ordinary now feels divine. The same sunlight, the same faces, the same streets. Yet everything glows with an unseen radiance, as if a hidden layer of meaning has been revealed beneath reality itself. This is the mystery that ancient mystics called the union of the opposites, the alchemy of spirit and matter. It is where heaven descends into the human heart, and the soul remembers its divine origin. It's what Christ meant when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." It's what the mystics of every age tried to describe through poetry, art, and silence, that the divine is not distant, but intimately present in every breath, every cell, every choice. And yet this is where most seekers turn back, because this level of awareness is not gentle, it burns. It demands that you release every false identity, every illusion of control, every belief that you are unworthy. It strips you bare until all that remains is truth, luminous, infinite, terrifyingly beautiful truth. But if you have reached this moment, know that it didn't happen by accident. You were called to it. And if these words are resonating deeply, vibrating somewhere in your chest, like a memory too old to name, it's because your soul recognizes its own reflection here. Take a deep breath. Feel it, the pulse of life moving through you. That is not your heartbeat. It is the rhythm of creation itself. The same force that turns galaxies and births stars is flowing in your veins. The same consciousness that dreamed the universe into being is dreaming through your eyes right now. And when you finally grasp this, even for an instant, the illusion of separation dies. You realize that what you called God, universe, source, or spirit has been walking beside you, and as you, all along. You begin to see how every hardship, every unanswered prayer, every silence was part of your initiation. The universe was not ignoring you. It was sculpting you into a vessel strong enough to hold light. The delays, the pain, the breaking, all were chisels shaping you into truth. It's here that a paradox unfolds. The more you let go, the more you receive. The less you strive, the more life flows. When you stop trying to control your destiny, destiny itself begins to move through you like a river that always knew its course. If this message is stirring something in you, if your soul feels seen right now, know that this work, the writing, the voice, the effort, is not driven by profit or algorithms. It is born of love, the same love that guided you here tonight. So if you feel called, like this video and subscribe to this channel. Every gesture of support helps this community of awakened hearts reach those who are still searching in the dark. You are not a viewer. You are part of this circle, part of this light, because this is not just knowledge, it is remembrance. And remembrance always comes with responsibility, to live, to love, to be the vessel through which the divine expresses itself in the world. And when you start living from that space, where your breath and the breath of creation are one, you begin to experience the most profound transformation of all. Because there exists one final revelation, a mystery so deep that even those who glimpse it struggle to describe it. It's the moment when the light you've been chasing finally reveals its source. And when that happens, the question is no longer, who am I? It becomes something far greater. Who is God when seen through my eyes? There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when all the fragments finally begin to make sense. Every loss, every sign, every sleepless night spent wondering why. All of it converges into a quiet understanding. You were never wandering aimlessly. You were being guided. Every step, even the ones that hurt, led you back here, to this very moment of remembrance. What we call signs were never random events scattered across the chaos of life. They were carefully placed markers from the universe, calling you home to yourself. The discomfort that once felt unbearable was the first knock on the door. The synchronicities that followed were the whispers saying, "Keep going, you're closer than you think." And the silence, that vast, still space that once frightened you, became the place where you finally heard the truth. You were never alone. Each sign, each signal was designed to awaken you from the trance of the ordinary, to remind you that you are not a passenger in this universe. You are a participant in its creation. You are not the small story that your fears tell you. You are the living echo of a divine intelligence that dreamed of becoming human just to experience itself through your eyes, your hands, your heartbeat. This is what Jung tried to teach, that the path of self-discovery is not selfish, it is sacred. Because every time one person wakes up to their truth, the collective soul of humanity brightens. You do not awaken for yourself alone, you awaken for the world. Think of what that means. The way you speak, the way you love, the way you forgive. Each act becomes a ripple, moving through unseen dimensions, touching lives you may never meet. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, compassion over control, faith over fear, you shift the vibration of this world ever so slightly toward light. That is the quiet revolution happening right now. Not in governments, not in institutions, but in hearts, one awakened soul at a time. And you sitting here, breathing, listening, feeling this, are part of that revolution. So if you've been doubting yourself, stop. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are right on time for your own becoming. The universe does not make mistakes. You were meant to hear this today. Maybe this was your sign, the confirmation you've been asking for, the nudge you needed to trust the path again. Because awakening is not a destination. It is a daily choice. Every morning you open your eyes, the invitation begins anew. Will I live asleep today, or will I live awake? You now carry the map. The signs won't always appear as miracles or visions. Sometimes they'll come as small moments of clarity, a sudden calm in your chest, a stranger's smile that lingers, a decision that feels lighter than fear. Those are your coordinates. Follow them. They will always lead you home. And remember, this community was created for you, not as followers, but as companions on the same sacred road. This work is not driven by profit or numbers. It's fueled by something deeper, the need to remind as many hearts as possible that they are seen, loved, and infinitely capable of transformation. So, if this message has touched you, help it reach another soul who might be silently waiting for their sign, like this video. Not for the algorithm, but for the ripple it creates. Subscribe to this channel and become part of our community, a circle of seekers, healers, and dreamers, learning to live in alignment with their truth. And I'd love to know your story. Leave a comment below with your name and city. Tell me where in the world this message found you. In the next video, I'll share a special blessing for those who write. Because this isn't just a channel, it's a living network of awakened souls recognizing one another across the distance. Before we part, Breathe deeply and remember, everything you've heard tonight wasn't meant to teach you something new. It was meant to awaken something ancient within you. The wisdom was already there, waiting, patient, eternal. And as you go back into your world, the same streets, the same faces, the same routines, look again. You'll see the divine geometry behind everything, the light hidden in the ordinary, the signs that have been waiting all along, because this journey doesn't end here. It begins now, in the quiet courage to live what you've remembered. You are the sign you've been waiting for.